Hello and welcome to my vlog. I am William A. Rumley and this is my journey to writing. Stay tuned and enjoy this once a week vlog. Hello and welcome to this week's vlog. This is vlog 64. What I'm going to deal with this in this vlog, first part I'm going to talk about my experiences while writing this week. And then the second part will be on the character archetype, the shadow. Then follow with updates and then it'll be more fun. Hang around, more to come. As you know, I'm in the middle of rewriting book two. And last week I was able to do a number of chapters, and I got a few more this week, and I had to make some decisions and some higher level editorial stuff, and that's what I want to talk about here. What I'm adding to these chapters is I'm making the chapters complete. They're going to have an open, they're going to have a close, they're going to have hooks and pacing. I had to change the chapters. When I wrote this book, I was still in storyteller mode, and it wasn't so emotional, it wasn't so drawn in, wasn't so point of view of my characters. And that's what I'm changing. I'm making sure that what you see is what the character of that chapter is seeing, and you're feeling what that character feels. That gives you a little bit better connection with the characters, a lot more connection with the story, and quite frankly, a lot of more um, internal logic is more clear, and it lets you know why that character is doing what that character is doing. This week, I have also had a big moment. When I come to the realization that a particular chapter kind of stood alone in the whole of the book, and that it wasn't necessarily giving anything to the story, and all of a sudden I just have a whole conglomeration of additional characters that's only in one chapter and is not used even later in the story. So I made the decision that I was going to cut this entire chapter, and then the characteristics that I need this chapter to do will just be a revelation that we see for that later on in the book. This entire chapter can be reduced down to a short story of 3 or 4 paragraphs, and that's what I decided I'm going to do. Which means that I changed my chapter order. So this week I technically have worked with 5 chapters. One of them was the deletion. So I got chapters 6, 7, 8, and 9 done, with chapter 8 actually deleted and 9 became 8. But when you are in that kind of a mode, and think about it like when you're making a film, a lot of good work ends up on the floor. It happens in writing too. But I made that as a major discovery on something to do this week. But what we have done with the chapters I've rewritten, especially stuff from last week, this week, and everything I got from the input from my beta reader, my characters are more rounded. They're developed. You're seeing them taking journeys inside themselves. The world is more developed. You can picture it stronger. And a lot of the feedback I got on book one is that people love the way that they could feel the world through my storytelling. And that's necessary here because there's a much more alien world than being Earth underwater. I also been able to ensure that the plot advancements are well paced. And pacing is a very important thing to do, because if you spend too much time on one particular issue and then barely none on the next, the readers get a little confused. So I wanted to make it possible for you to keep a consistent and entertaining process, entertaining read. Now, the story is now moving with purpose instead of just being noise. At the time of designing this vlog, I had the intent to finish chapter 10 yesterday. Nope. When the muse knocks you on the head in the middle of the shower and says, "Nah, I have some ideas," and all of a sudden I'm doing major ideas to put into books 4, 5, 6, and then actually the major plot of 7 has manifested. Okay, you just shut up, you put it down, you get the inspiration out, And the reason why is because writing is not a scientific process, it is an exploration of your own mind. And sometimes your mind jumps. And now that I have a potential plot line and storyline for book 7, I can ensure from book 2 onwards we're aligned to that storyline. And it is aligned with book 1 because that's the thing, that's the foundation. I'm still working on 2, 3, 4, and blah, blah, blah. So I can inject this properly. But now I know where it's going. I now know, well, let me say it this way. J.K. Rowling told us a long time ago, after she wrote book 1, she had the final chapter of the entire series already written in her secret vault. Before she even wrote the other books, she knew what the ending was. And that was important because she needed to know how to get there. Now I have my ending as I'm writing out the stories on how to get there. I'm not saying it's going to be like J.K. Rowling. She's a much more experienced author. And, well, it'd be nice to let people know that I'm trying. So, closing out of this week, these are my reflections from my writing. This week wasn't about writing, it was more about writing truer, giving the truth, giving emotion, POV, and aligning the structure. And I think the story is stronger for that. And I hope when this goes through the process, you will see. Just remember, I'm on write 3. Write 1 is always a rough draft, and write 2 is where you try to formalize it into chapters and you do your first descriptive journey. Then you give that to a beta reader. Beta reader input comes in. Then I'm doing write 3, and the beta reader can identify places of confusion, loss, and things that are not strong enough. I rewrite all that. And then I have my professional editor coming. She will do her complete review and her edit, and that I call write 4. And then once I get write 4 and apply all the recommendations or rewrites she recommends, then that goes into write 5, or what I call the final read. And if final read is good, then it goes to publication. If I do not like final read, then I do more rewrites and work more with the editor or work more with my editor. That's how I build my stories. And that's where we are. So that was this week. And as promised in every single vlog, I am giving you a journey of training. And this week we'll be talking about the archetype, character archetype of the shadow. Here it comes. This is one of the more mysterious character archetypes because, in a way, it's every archetype but upside down. So, the shadow figure, as we will see as we go through the analysis, um, has many roles it can play. And I've used it now in a couple of different ways in my stories. And it always is interesting to see how it resolves out. So what do we got here? We have a lone figure stands on the edge of a moonless ravine, and behind them the world they know flickers with familiar light. Before them a vast darkness breathes. It's alive, patient, watching, and the wind carries a whisper that sounds suspiciously like their own voice. Let's invoke this shadow. The shadow that walks beside every hero, the keeper of the unspoken, the unwanted, the unhealed. You rise when truth is too heavy to bear. Step forward, let your silhouette unfurl across the screen. Let us see what we have refused to see. When we deal with the shadow, it is not merely darkness. It's actually the gravity of the soul. It is the mythic force that gathers everything that the character it's aligned with cannot accept. It is their rage, their hunger, their fear, their brilliance, and their potential. In a way, it's that storm on the other behind the door, the monster under the bed, the echo of the self that says, "I'm still here." The shadow is a dragon guardian, the treasure, the double who walks in dreams, and the adversary who knows the hero better than anyone else. It is the force that insists on transformation because what they denied will always return. At his heart, the shadow is a wound asking to be witnessed. And we've seen this. We've seen this core in the Guardian. We've seen this core in the Mentor. We've seen this core in the Adversary. So the shadow is a face on top of many other archetypes. Art can be its own. It can even be the hero. It allows the character that it shadows, normally the hero, to really be forced to face its internal struggle, internal fear, its internal hate, its internal wounds, its loneliness, its terror of being seen, its a desperation, a desperate hope that someone, anyone, will finally turn towards it instead of away. That's why the shadow feels so personal to the reader. It's not an enemy, it is the forgotten child. The shadow is the reflection of many masks. On its outer mask, the shadow often appears as the antagonist, or the rival, or the one who opposes the hero with uncanny precision. They wear a mask of threat, chaos, destruction, because that's the only language that the hero can understand. But deep down inside, beneath the surface, the shadow hides shame, grief, brilliance, and the truth the character fears most. The inner mask is a whisper. If they knew this about me, they would turn away. The shadow's masks are armored forged from fear. And here you see the shadow's mask, a wall of masks, because shadow can be the shadow of any archetype. The shadow in its darkest reflection, its shadow form, if you will, it is the tyrant consumed by their own pain, consumed by their hate, consumed by their fear. It can be the saboteur who destroys what they love. It is the monster who believes they are beyond redemption and is a reflection that devours the original. This is the corrosive form, the hunger, the self-annihilating. This is the shadow that has forgotten it was once human. But being the shadow is a journey. And if the shadow is successful and the hero is aligned, then the shadow can be embraced and become a deeper source of power for the hero. It transforms into radical honesty, fierce authenticity, creative fire, emotional resilience, and the courage to face the truth without flinching. The integrated shadow is not darkness, it is wholeness. It is the moment that the character says, I will not hide from myself anymore. The shadow is one of those things that we see everywhere. So in Greek mythology, the Minotaur, born of shame, waiting to be understood. In Norse myth, Fennar, the wolf, bound by fear until the end of days. In Hindu tradition, Kali, the fierce mirror of the supposed truth. In Japanese folklore, the oni, manifesting of repressed emotions. Jingan Jungian psychology, the shadow self, the unseen half of the psyche. And across cultures, the shadow is the same story told in different languages, the part of us we fear and the part of us we need. The shadow is a main element in in so far my stories. And in book one, it is the observer at the beginning. And then later, it is the in book two, it is the opposer. The shadow moves about, building up the dark. Later on, book four, the shadow is an even greater threat to the entire universe. And that's what we are seeing. It is the opposition to the hero. As the hero gets stronger, so does its shadow, and so does its role in either shadow form or form of light. Sometimes the combination of two is the storyline. But the shadow always appears in whisper, and sometimes it takes the form of choice that cannot be undone. Shadow in your world doesn't have to be a villain. It can be used as a turning point, and that's what I suggest. And now we say goodbye to the shadow. The light lanterns dim, the ravine exhales, the figure steps back from the edge. It's not in fear, but in recognition. As the shadow bows, its shape dissolves into a thousand drifting fragments, each one truth waiting to be reclaimed. And then as the screen fades, a new silhouette rises, not dark, not radiant, a force that does not hide. But next week, we reveal the hero. And now, updates! Okay, so book one is out and for sale, and one of the things I saw is that I had to make some adjustments to my pipeline. I'm running advertisements via Reels on multiple platforms. I'm seeing the people use those Reels and go to the website, they go to the order page, but I'm not seeing what I'm seeing though is on the order page, they only had the choice to buy it on Lulu.com. However, I'm on 12 different platforms. And so I decided to start supporting those platforms. So I made a link to Amazon.com. I made a link to Bol.com for Dutch and Belgian sellers, and for to Barnes and Noble for direct sales in North America. Barnes and Noble is also all over the world. Um, this pipeline change will help your choices because not everyone has heard what Lulu.com is. Book two, this whole chapter we've been dealing with, it's been with the work of the third rewrite. To summarize it, I have now written chapters 1 through 9 and having deleted the chapter. On the other hand, Chris has worked very hard with me to come up with some cover drafts, and we're slowly approaching the final design. We'll show you what those steps are in the next image. Book 3 is on hold, though I did get through scene 15. And when I say scene, I mean that's the rough draft. I start with scenes, then I change them into chapters, and then I change them into rewrites. So book 3 is still on draft mode, is on scene 15, but I put that on hold now because I'm working on book 2. Get book 2 to my editor, then I will return to book 3. When book three's draft is done, I hopefully will have something from my editor to go through the next stages. If not, then I will start doing the draft version of book 4 as my beta readers reading book 2. Book 3. 2, 3, 4. Okay. And like I said, I had a brainstorm, and so some major plot ideas came in, which changed book 4, 5, and 6, and actually manifested the plot for book 7. And no spoilers here. It's just going to be a fun ride. Now I can't wait to write it all. I just can't wait. I got to do it. Excuse me, I'm going to start writing right now. So we've been doing some evolutions with the idea for the cover, and these are all just draft images by Chris. He hasn't started slapping paint on the easel yet, but I think we're getting real close. So up here on this side, this was the original concept art that we were working with. However, like everything else, we had a creative shift. And so now this guy is what we're looking at as being the structure, turning it around, if you will. And the reason being is that the ship in the background with the text over it will look much better than the busy armies that the other one was going to do. And then shifting the demon and his army behind the main character was an artistic choice that I think makes a heck of a lot of sense. This is why you work with a professional. Thank you, Chris. This is on you. And so we can't wait to start seeing the production of this. And that's when you want to be a writer. A lot of things I'm following, a lot of the conversations first-hand writers run into is, oh my God, how do I do this? How do I do that? I'm done with my text, but they've probably only done 2 or 3 writes. I haven't put it in front of a person for a beta read. I haven't put it in front of an editor. These are things that need to happen, in my opinion. And then working with a cover. Now, a lot of people, they just do it with their own art or they do it with AI. And I have to think that the cover is not about what you want. The cover is about drawing the people to your book. So that's why you got to think from their perspective. Who is going to read this book? Will they be attracted to an AI cover, or will they go, oh, that's an AI cover, and throw it away? I have made the choice to have a professional painter do my covers. And it's rewarding because the process of writing a book and the process to do the cover align perfectly. And it's worth the investment. A professional editor and a professional cover painter, it's worth the investment. Notice I'm saying cover painter. The trap with getting a cover made by an agency is that they use AI to build it for you. And then you're paying a lot of money for something you could have done yourself. So make sure that you know what you're getting involved with. Make sure you get a real cover designer. Thank you. This vlog was fun to build. I'm also announcing that somewhere in the near future, I'm going to start doing at least once a month a walking vlog where I'm going to just walk through a park and talk about my things with you, a little bit less PowerPoint and a lot more about the discussions with me. However, I know people love the PowerPoint and the images, so they'll still be there for the other vlogs. But I did this because my vlogs from Efteling were quite popular. And there I was doing walking vlogs, so we're going to see if you want more of me and less of that. Do us a favor, share this vlog, share this channel. Let's get our subscribers up. Let's see how many people we can get interested in the sagas of the Wardens of the Dawn. Thank you for your attention this week. Hope you have a great one. Share, subscribe, blah, 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 all that stuff. See you next week. Bill out.
In the valley where the dream winds rhyme, Mach wanders through unraveling time. His tongue is tangled, broken, bound.